thing was started, okay, started recording. So I was saying that the moment we are done with class, that means yeah, you just start studying for the tests now.
Oh,
You,
okay then.
you just be studying for the tests.
Okay then.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
No, sir, I didn't get what you were saying.
I was saying that the moment we are done with the syllabus, you guys, you can now just start revising on your own and start preparing for the exam. Okay, let me get started now. Mm, So, any questions before I start?
Sasa silaangalia test kama online.
No, you won't have any online tests. All of them that you have will be physical because essentially you'll be opening schools very soon. Mm, Okay, let me get started now. So essentially, I sent you a video. So today, what we're dealing with essentially is market structures. Let me first of all check if, okay, I'm live now. So today, what we're dealing with is market structures. So whenever we talk about market structures, there are a number of things that we have to ask of ourselves. So whenever want to talk about the market structure, remember before starting, I first of all defined what a market is. I said a market is a platform where buyers and sellers come together to transact, right? That's what a market is. But essentially, when I talk about market structure in this course, there are essentially four types of markets in the extremes. So there are four types of markets. There is the first one, the second one, the third one, and the fourth one there. So now, if I talk about market structures, if I talk about market structures, there is something which is very competitive. The one that's very competitive, where I only have one person that's supplying in the market. Here I'll have a monopoly, which is the most where there is a lot of there are a lot of barriers to entry and there are a lot of restrictions in this market, and there is just one person that's supplying in this market. That's when at the far end I have another market where I have many buyers and many sellers. In this market structure is called the perfect competition. Perfect competition. That's when in between perfect competition and monopoly, there are market structures that may have features of a monopoly and features of a perfect competition. So in between there, you'll find market structures that we call the oligopoly, and the other type of market structure will have a monopolistic competition. So in instance, we have four types of market structures. There is monopoly, there is oligopoly, there is monopolistic, there is perfect competition. But for the purpose of this course, we'll only deal with two market structures. We'll deal with the monopoly and we'll deal with the perfectly competitive market. So essentially, when I talk about market structures, what do I mean? When I talk about market structures, I mean three things. The first thing that I talk about when I'm talking about market structures is I need to ask myself, how many firms are operating in this market? So on the basis, if you want to be able to tear apart whether a market is a monopoly competition, oligopoly, or perfect competition, you have to ask this fundamental question: how many firms are operating in this market? The next fundamental question that one has to ask for them to be able to establish whether they're in perfect competition, monopoly, or oligopoly, or all those market structures is, you have to ask, how easy is it for a firm to enter the market, and how easy is it for a firm to exit the market? Because if you look at most businesses in Zambia, usually, like when someone is making, like when I'm selling physics and I'm making a lot of profits, that will induce a lot of people to be attracted to come into the market. That's when we start making losses, everyone will start exiting the market. So with this second bit of it, I'm asking, how easy is it for someone to enter the market, and how easy is it for someone to exit the market? If it's very easy, and if it's very easy for someone to enter and very easy for someone to exit, we can be able to classify a market based on those four. That's when the other question that we essentially have to ask is, how the product that a particular firm is producing, how can the product be differentiated from that of its rivals? So for example, if I have two producers in the market, for example, if I have producer A, and if I have producer A and producer B, by product differentiation, I'm simply asking, if I look at the product that's produced by firm A, how different is that product from the product that's produced by firm B? If the two are not differentiated, if the two are identical, we call them as homogeneous. If the two items are identical, we call them homogeneous. If the two items are different, we usually call them differentiated, or we usually refer to them as heterogeneous. Now we're together. So every time we talk about market structure, we can be able to tear apart firms into the four categories based on these three things. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, the next bit, so now I'll start by talking about the first type of market. So in this course, I've told you that we only talk about two market structures. I'll talk about the monopolistic, about the perfectly competitive market. Those are the two market structures that we deal with in this course. So now, I'll start by dealing with the perfectly competitive market. What is a perfectly competitive market? So competition is the common market structure that has very desirable properties. So it is useful to compare other market structures to the perfectly competitive market. So now, what is a perfectly competitive market? A perfectly competitive market is a market model where many firms produce identical products for many buyers. It assumes free entry and free exit, and it also assumes complete information. So that's the definition of a perfectly competitive market. In a perfectly competitive market, the first thing that you identify is that we have many firms that are producing a homogeneous product. So it's sort of like I have 10,000 suppliers, and all those suppliers are producing identical goods. So what that means is that if I have any two suppliers, supplier A and supplier B, it's impossible for me to differentiate and say this item is from supplier A and this item is from supplier B. All the products that are produced in this market are identical. And if the goods are identical, it means that the consumer will view them as perfect substitutes. Are we together? That's when the second part of it is that in this market, there are many buyers. Besides having many buyers, you find that there is free entry and the free exit of firms. That's when the last bit of it is the fact that there is complete information. What does complete information mean? Complete information, I can define it if I am a producer. If I'm a producer and I have complete information, it simply means that in the market, and I know what price each one of the buyers can be willing to buy at. And if there is complete information in terms of, that was complete information in terms of the producer, and I can now talk about complete information in terms of the buyer. If I am a buyer and there is complete information, it simply means that as a buyer, I know everyone that's supplying in the market. Besides knowing what everyone is supplying in the market, I know what price each one and everyone in the market is selling at. That's what complete information is. Is there any question? Is there any question? Someone raised up their hand.
Sir, could you please just repeat on
The notes are not.
But the notes are not what?
I'm unable to see what is there.
Others, can you see?
Yes, we can see.
We can see.
It's network. If they are too small, you can zoom in. Just the way you zoom pictures, you can zoom even in what's this? In Google Meet, you can zoom.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Any other question?
Sir, I'm kindly asking if you can repeat what you mean when you say there is complete information. I wasn't able to hear you clearly.
I want you to come to the video and rewatch it so that you also subscribe. Yeah, so if you didn't get it, just come back and subscribe. But essentially, what I mean about perfect information, I can define perfect competition, and I can define perfect information. If I am a producer and there is perfect information, it simply means that I know everyone that's buying from me, and I know the price that each one in the market can be willing to buy at. So meaning that if I have 10,000 buyers, if there is perfect information, it simply means that as a producer, I know all the buyers, and I know at what price each one of them would be willing to buy at. That's when if I am a buyer and I talk about perfect information, it simply means that I know all the sellers in the market and I know what price each one of them may be willing to sell at altogether. That's what I mean by complete information. Are we together?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So now, hope you guys come back to these streams, right? Hope you come back to them even after having class. Because even with sermons, every Sunday tuning into Apostle Joshua Selman, he says that you've attended service now, but find time to come back to this video all together. So if those things even these classes, I'm just hoping you guys are not just viewing them once. You have to view them 3-4 times for you to grasp the points. Okay, so now I'll continue. So now in economics, I'm now going to the second section there, which is price taking. So in economics, every time you hear that a market is competitive, I want you to think about one thing. Every time you hear that the market is competitive, it simply means that everyone in the market is a price taker. What is price taking? Price taking simply means that in this market, there is sort of like a god. That god is deciding what the price is. That's when after it decides what the price is, all the players in the market then obey the god and say, okay, the god has said that this is the price at which this commodity has to be sold at. So it means that all suppliers will sell the commodity at that price. All buyers will buy the commodity at that price. That's what price taking is. So price taking is a situation where a supplier and a buyer, both of them don't have power at all to influence the market price. So because they don't have power to influence the market price, the market is sort of like the god that is establishing the price at which something has to be sold at. Are we together? So now, if I talk about price taking, how does that look for a firm? How does the fact that a firm is a price taker, how does its demand curve look for a particular product? So here is a demand curve for a firm. Remember, we established that in this market structure, I've said that both buyers and sellers are price takers. So if they are price takers, what does that mean? It means that there is a particular god in the market that is establishing the price. So look at what's happening here. I sort of have like this market here. So the market in this instance is sort of like this god, small letter G. This is the god in the market, small letter G, don't misquote me. That's when there is the firm here. So this god, you can see here that in this market, there is the market demand and the market supply, where the equilibrium price is happening there. That's what the god, which is the market, is establishing and saying, okay, in this market, I want everyone to sell and buy at this price. So you can see that this god has established this price, which is P. So what does that mean? It simply means that a firm can sell all quantities. It can sell one quantity, it can sell 1 billion, it can sell 10 billion at a fixed price, which was set by the market. That's what being a price taker looks like for a firm. You can see that its demand curve is horizontal like that. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So now, the moment your demand curve is horizontal like that, what that will imply is the fact that it means that your price will be equal to the demand function, will be equal to the demand curve. Besides your price being equal to the demand function, it will also mean that the price will also be equal to the average revenue function, and the average revenue function will be equal to the marginal revenue function. All together, that's what this means. So if you want to prove this, what you can just do is you can ask yourself, what is the definition of average revenue? So meaning that, for example, if I have quantity there, which is quantity 1 there, and there I have quantity what? Quantity 2 there. I have quantity 2 there. So for example, if I tell you calculate the average revenue at quantity 1, what you'd have done would have been average revenue at price 1 is equals to what? It would have just been open bracket price times quantity what? Quantity 1 divided by what? Divided by quantity 1. What are you getting if you multiply price times quantity 1 divided by quantity 1? You're just getting the price there, right? Are we together?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
why we're simply saying that when your demand curve is horizontal like that, it simply means that your price will always be equal to the average revenue. If I do the same when the quantity is at 2, you also establish that the average revenue will be what? It will just be the price, right? So now let me talk about marginal revenue. How did I tell you find marginal revenue? To find marginal revenue, what is marginal revenue? So marginal revenue is the change in total revenue that is coming about as a result of increasing my output by 1 unit. So for example, here, if I'm talking about marginal revenue, what that means is that if I move from quantity 1 to quantity 2, by how much is my total revenue changing? So what does that? So if I want to find my marginal revenue there, how will it be? I'll come there and I'll say, what is the total revenue at 2? The total revenue at 2 is open bracket price times quantity 2 minus open bracket price times quantity 1 close bracket. So that is the change in total revenue between the two places from here to there, right? So I will divide this by quantity 2 minus quantity 1. So if I do that, what I've established there is my marginal revenue. And one thing that you realize is that this marginal, okay, wait, let me do this to avoid confusion. So instead of putting 2 here, let me put Q1 plus 1, right? Let me put Q1 plus 1 there. So meaning that if I do that, P times Q1, P times open bracket, Q1 plus 1. All together. Do you understand what I mean by this portion here? This is the total revenue when I'm at Q1 plus 1. If I multiply Q1 plus 1 times P, that is the total revenue when I'm producing at Q1 plus 1. Are we together? Are we together?
Oh, come again.
Rephrase, sir. Sir, come again, sir.
What is total revenue? Total revenue is price times quantity. Ulipa quantity Q1 plus 1. Nikabwena kufunza kuti total revenue yako ni chani. So zanauza ni Q1 plus 1 times P. Hey,
Mohamed,
yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Explain. Now, because I'm trying to calculate my marginal revenue, I'm moving from Q1 to Q1 plus 1. I'm trying to calculate the change in total revenue there. So first of all, I need to find the total revenue at Q1 plus 1. That's when I find the total revenue at Q1. That's when I'll divide. What will I divide? I'll divide the quantities at the base there. So I found the total revenue when I'm at Q1 plus 1. So now let me find the total revenue when I'm at Q1. So when I'm at Q1, what is my total revenue? It's P times Q1, right? Hey, isn't it? Okay. So meaning that's when I'll divide by Q1 plus 1 at the bottom. So meaning that the moment I simplify this, how this thing look like if I simplify that, it will be marginally times Q1, it will be what? So let me say P times Q1, it will be P Q1, P times, so P times 1 is what? Plus P. Muzibo cha distribute. You learned this in your math. That's when minus what? P times Q1, which is P Q1, right? Close bracket over open bracket Q1 plus 1 minus Q1, right? So you know from your mathematics, that this and this will cancel out, this and this cancel out. So what does that mean? It simply means that your total revenue will now be price. It will just be price divided by 1, right? Price divided by 1, which is just the price. So that's what I mean by when your demand curve is horizontal like that, it simply means that your marginal revenue will be equal to your average revenue. And your average revenue will be equal to the demand function. And your demand function will be equal to the price. That's what I mean when that's what that implies by this notation here. I've explained everything here. So if a firm is a price taker, it simply means that this condition always has to hold. Are we together?
Hey, Vasorwezi.
Are we together?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are there, sir.
So now I'll talk about why do firms have a horizontal, why do firms have a demand curve that is horizontal? So I'm justifying why is it that in perfect competition, the demand curve is horizontal like this. And every time I give you a question in perfect competition, I always want you to draw this god here. This god here is the market. If you miss out this god here, I'll subtract max. So always in perfect competition, you have to start from the market. After you tell me what's happening in the market, you establish the price. You bring the price from the market price and draw the demand function for a single firm this side. So now I'm justifying why is the demand function for a perfectly competitive market horizontal like that? The first reason why I'm justifying that it is horizontal like that is because the market contains a large number of firms. So in this market, I just have so many firms. So first of all, let me give an implication. So let me give an implication what this means. So having a demand function which is horizontal like this, it simply means that the moment you increase your price above this market point, it means that no one will buy from you. The moment you reduce your price to something lower than what the market is selling at, like for example, you put the price there, what that means is that everyone in the market will start buying from you, right? But now, if when we're dealing with profits, we say that profits, what's the relationship between price and profit? What relationship did I establish between price and profits?
The council chairman.
Oh, mutamba na ma campaigns. Hiyo mwe. It will be fire for fire. Wait. Hey, what did I say about the relationship?
Guys, what did I say about the relationship between price and the profit? See. Okay. Can you hear me?
Stenzo, stay attentive, my class.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I was changing the gadget so that I can be able to write. Okay, if you're not attending class, that's a good thing. Because I'm trying by all efforts to do the recordings, and you don't attend class. So what does that mean? So I was saying that you can see my screen, right?
Yes.
So what I said, when your demand function is horizontal like that, what it means is the fact that when a firm just wakes up all of a sudden and say, okay, me, I'll decide to charge a price which is above equilibrium, what that means is that all the customers in the market will run away from you. Because there are so many sellers in the market, customers will go buy from your colleagues because there are so many in the market. And if you read books like Auja, the way Auja brings it out, it says that in a perfect competitive market, it's sort of like there are so many firms in the market that the output of one firm is like a drop of water in an ocean. That's how many firms you have in the market. So meaning that the output of one person is so insignificant in the market. So the moment you just wake up and say, okay, I'm increasing my price above the equilibrium, because there are so many firms, the customers will say, to hell with this guy, we're not buying from him. Again, the intuition, when your demand function is horizontal like that, it simply means that when I decide to sell at the price below equilibrium, because we say that there is perfect information, all the buyers know the price that everyone is selling at. So all the buyers in the market will now come to you. If they come to you, one thing will be for sure, the price has reduced. So what does that mean? I said profit is equals to total revenue, which is price times quantity minus total cost. So what does that mean? I've reduced my price here. What does that tell you? It simply means that your profits will be low. So meaning that as a producer, you don't want to reduce your price there, even though a lot of people buy from you, because the profits will reduce. That's what having a horizontal demand function means. So now I was justifying why is this demand function horizontal. The first justification is the fact that there are just so many buyers and sellers in the market. The other reason why the demand curve is horizontal is the fact that firms are selling the same item. So besides the number of firms, besides the number of suppliers being a lot, you are a lot and you have all of you are supplying the same item, right? That's why you find that the demand curve is horizontal like that. Besides that, one thing that you also establish is that sellers and buyers have got what? Full information about the prices charged by everyone in the market. So it's sort of like what I was explaining about full information or perfect information. That's when the other reason is the fact that transaction costs, they are sort of like, they are negligible transaction cost or no transaction cost at all. What is the transaction cost? A transaction cost is a situation where if I want to, if we have, for example, if there is a supplier in, if we buy phones or we buy headsets from a company that supplies them from Lusaka, then we have someone in Eastern and someone in Lusaka. Who of the two will it be easier for us to transfer the commodity to? Or who will it be easy for them to buy? Like if you're putting something on Yango, there is that charge that they charge. There is that charge, which is the courier charge. So who do you think will pay a high courier charge, between the person in Lusaka or the person in Eastern?
Person in Eastern.
So the person in Eastern would have to put the item on a Jordan bus, or besides the Jordan bus, when it's in Eastern, they put it on a Yango. So now, what that transportation, that thing, that courier cost is what I'm referring to as the transaction cost. So what it means in a perfect competition, because I have so many suppliers, the other assumption I assume is that the transaction cost is sort of like zero or it's low. So that means that whether it's someone from Eastern or someone in Lusaka, they'll buy the item at the same cost and they won't incur any cost in transportation. That's what I mean by transaction cost. So you find that in a perfect competition, because of the assumption of low transaction cost, that's why you find that the demand curve is horizontal like that. That's when the last assumption that we talk about is the fact that firms can freely enter and exit the market. So you find that in a perfectly competitive market, like what you do in Zambia, Mukonda Vokoperana, you find that your friend is selling energy drink just because he's making profits, so a lot of people are coming to his room, the next person in the next room starts selling energy drinks so that they should share the profits. So then you find that the moment we stop making profits, people start exiting the business. So you find that in a perfect competition, there is a free entry and a free exit. It's easy for a firm to join the market, and it's easy for a firm to exit the market. That's why you find that the demand curve is horizontal, like that. Are we together? So these are the reasons why the demand curve, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the reasons here why the demand curve of a perfectly competitive firm is horizontal, like that. Are we clear?
Yes, sir, we're clear.
Is my network okay? Am I breaking?
No, the network is
No.
just okay.
Okay. So meaning that I've justified all these. If you want, you will watch them. I sent you to, I'm making 2 recordings of this class. There's the other one I sent, and there's this one. Because sometimes I say different things at different points. So probably I'll upload both of them. So now, remember, when we started, what did I say? I said that every economic agent has got an objective. Every economic agent has an objective, right? Every economic agent has an objective. I said a firm, their objective is to maximize profit. A consumer, their objective is to maximize satisfaction. The government, their objective is to maximize the well-being of the citizens. So now, when we come into a perfectly competitive market and be able to establish the output at which a perfectly competitive firm will maximize profit. So if you remember, if you've forgotten, what we'll be dealing with are those curves. You remember the marginal cost? I said the marginal cost is U-shaped because of diminishing marginal returns. The average total cost, average variable cost is like that because of diminishing marginal returns. The average total cost is also U-shaped because of diminishing marginal returns. And always the marginal cost intersects the average total cost and the average variable cost at the minimum. Alternatively, I also told you that the average fixed cost will be like that. So meaning that if you can draw these curves, it won't be a problem where we are going, where I'll be telling you, for example, I can tell you, draw for me a situation where a perfectly competitive market is making profits. Draw for me a situation where a perfectly competitive market is making a loss. Yeah? So now that's what we are going into. But now, before we start everything, first of all, if you remember, what did I say? So, what did I say? I said profit. What is profit? Profit is total revenue minus total cost, right? Total revenue minus total cost. What is the objective of the firm? Hey, Angelina, what is the objective of the firm? Eh?
To maximize profit.
So now, in math, you learned that if I want to find the output at which I'm maximizing something, what do? I differentiate that function and equate it to 0, right?
Yes.
So meaning that I want to find the maximum or the turning point of this expression. What do? I'll differentiate this profit with respect to quantity. And the math, if you're differentiating a a subtraction. Is it a subtraction? What do we call it? The product quotient. Quotient in division. So if you're differentiating two functions that are the negative or a subtraction of each other, what do? You differentiate this function, the first one, and subtract, isn't it? And equate this to 0, right?
Your side breaking.
Am I breaking with everyone?
You're breaking.
No.
No.
I'm not. Hey, but though my bars are low there. So with everyone, I'm not breaking, right?
No, you're not.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So meaning that in math, they told you that if I find the derivative, if I want to find the derivative of this whole expression, I can find the derivative of the total revenue, subtract the derivative of the total cost. So now, if I find what is the derivative of the total revenue function? It's your marginal revenue. What is the derivative of the total cost function? It is your marginal cost. So now, what does that mean? It simply means that my marginal revenue minus my marginal cost, when I subtract these two, the difference has to be equal to 0. So meaning that if I bring this one the other side, that will mean that the firm is maximizing profit where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. Are we together?
Yes.
Yes. So meaning that if you're in perfect competition, always I tell you, find for me the point where you're maximizing profit. You go to the marginal revenue and find where the marginal revenue is equals to the marginal cost. If you establish that point, that means that is the profit maximizing what point. So this is what I was doing. I was simply telling you that if you look at this profit function, where you have the maximum there, the slope of this profit function will be 0, right? So meaning that if I differentiate these things together, I'll come to a situation where I'm saying that a firm will always maximize profit at the output where the marginal revenue is equals to marginal costs. Are we together? Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Now, so let me talk about the other part of it. So I've told you that as a firm, if I want to establish where I'm maximizing profit, I'll go to the point where my marginal revenue is equals to my marginal cost. So now I'll talk about something. I'll talk about the objectives of a firm in the short run. So in the short run, the firm will have two objectives. The first objective will be to do what? To decide the output. So to decide the output where I'll be maximizing my what? Maximizing my profit. That's the first thing that you do. The second thing that you have to ask yourself is that at this profit maximizing point, should I shut down for a long run? There are two things that a firm always be doing. The first thing is that you find the point where you're maximizing profit. So for example, let me come to this graph here. If I come to this graph here, you can see what is my marginal revenue. My marginal revenue is this line, the one that I've shaded in purple, right? What is my marginal cost? My marginal cost is this one, which is in purple as well. Where are the two intersecting? The two are equal at this point. So what does that mean? It simply means that the firm, if they are maximizing profit, they have to produce 284 units of this good. That's the first step that you have to do always when you're trying to establish the profit maximizing point. Always find the output where the firm is maximizing profit. And in this case, the output where the firm is maximizing profit is what? Q is equals to 284. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, that's the first thing we always do. The second thing that you will do is the shutdown. So you can see the first rule is that the first thing that you do is that you have to identify the output where the firm is producing. The next thing that you do is you have to decide. The second thing that the firm will do is that the firm should shut down only if the revenue is less than the avoidable costs. So now the second thing that you have to establish as a firm is, at this output, should I continue producing? Should I shut down? What should I do? So here is the rule. Here is the rule now. Here is the rule. So a firm will always shut down. Can someone mute their mic? A firm will always shut down if your total revenue is less than your total variable costs. Are we together? A firm will always shut down the moment the variable costs are greater than the total revenue. So what this means is sort of like a situation where, you know, when I talk about costs, like for example, at the University of Zambia, if I talk about costs, the fixed costs are the lecture theaters, the variable costs may be the lecturers. So the moment UNZA can't pay us anymore, what happens? We go on go slow, right? If you go on go slow, what does UNZA do? They close because of the fact that you cannot produce a degree with lecture theaters alone. You need the lecturers, and the lecturers in this instance are the variable costs. You can vary the number of lecturers that you can employ. So meaning that the moment a firm can't cover the variable costs, the moment you can't pay your laborers, what do you have to do? No one will be willing to wait, right? You have to shut down. So that's the next objective that you have to think about. The next objective that you have to ask yourself, is my total revenue greater than the variable cost? Is my total revenue less than the variable cost? If my total revenue is less than the variable cost, what do? I shut down. If my total revenue is greater than the total variable cost, what do? I continue being in business. That's what you have to do in the second decision. So, like for example, I'll go to that same graph. What have I said here? I've established that the firm is producing at this point, which is output. I've said that the firm is producing at this output, right? So the next question that you ask yourself, at this output, what is my total revenue? The total revenue, ask yourself, the total revenue is to get, first of all, what is total revenue? Total revenue is price times quantity. I already know what the quantity is. I know it's 284. What is the price? To get the price, what I'll do is that I'll go on this output, where is the demand function? You know that the demand function is this one here, where you get the price from, right? How to get?
Yes.
So if I get this output and substitute it in my demand function, what price is it giving me? It's giving me a price of 8, right? So meaning that my price is 8. So meaning that if I multiply 8 times 284, this here is my total revenue. That figure there is my total revenue. Are we together? Okay. You properly. Okay. So now I've established that the total revenue is there. The next thing I need to establish now is what is my, so here there is no variable cost. So for now we'll skip the variable cost and we'll see whether a firm is making profit or making a loss. So the next part of it, I'll ask myself, what is my total cost? So to find, because I want to find profits there, because profit is total revenue minus total cost. So I've already found this total cost here. Let me find my total revenue now. To find my total revenue, how do I find my total revenue? I'll come to this output there. Let me use blue. I'll come to that output there, which is 284. So if you remember, what did I say? I said average total cost is what? Total cost divided by quantity, right? Are we together?
Yes.
In this graph here, I have my quantity, which is what? 284. And I have my total cost, my average total cost. So to find my average total cost, I come to this output, go straight. Where I find the average total cost, extend it to this side. So what is my average total cost? The average total cost is 6.50, right? So meaning that if I want to come up with my total cost, I'll multiply those two, which would be 284 times 6.80. Are we together? So meaning that my total cost is this portion here. This is my total cost. So if I ask you, are we making a profit or a loss?
Wait, sir. That part that is on top
Profit.
from 6.5 up to 8. That part is what?
So I said your total revenue is this whole thing, right?
Yes.
Your cost is this part there, right?
Then the other part, sir.
The other part, that's your profit, Kylie. This is your profit here. This portion there is your profit there.
Right.
So meaning that if I ask you, should the firm shut down or continue being in business, what would you tell me?
It should continue being in business.
Continue being in business because of the fact that it's making what?
Profit.
Profit.
All together.
Yes, we are.
So now, let me look at another graph. Okay, let me look at this graph here. Right? In this graph here, what's happening? I have a situation where my total revenue, my marginal revenue is that point there. So this price, I said price is always equal to marginal revenue. What is my marginal cost? My marginal cost is that one there, right? So you can see here, where am I at equilibrium? I'm at equilibrium at this point. What do I produce as a firm? I'll produce what? 100, right? Huh?
Yes. Yes.
I'll produce 100. So if I told you, Shed, your total revenue would have been that there, right? Because this is your price, this is your quantity. So your total revenue is just that region there, right?
Yes, sir.
If I told you, find the total cost at this point, to find the total cost, you go at the profit maximizing output. The profit maximizing output is 100. I'll go straight until I meet my average total cost, right? So the average total cost is there. If I want to calculate the actual value of the average total cost, I bring the line that side. So you can see there that the average total cost is what? 6.12, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So now, if I told you, so let me shade the total cost. The total cost, the shaded region is that one there. So if I ask you, in this case, are we making a profit or a loss?
Yes.
I think you're making a loss.
Big loss.
Listen now. So now you can continue being in business even when you're making a loss, right? So now I'm trying to establish whether the firm should continue being in business or exit the business. One thing is for sure, we established that we're making a loss, and the loss that we're making as a firm is this portion, right? That's the loss that we're making as a firm. So now, the next question you have to ask yourself, yes, quite right, we're making a loss. We can make a loss and still be in business, and we can make a loss and exit the business. So now, let's establish whether we should be in business or exit the business. So now, remember, you have to ask yourself, my total revenue, I said it's this portion, right? That is my total revenue, right?
Yes.
So now, the next question you have to ask yourself, what is my total variable cost? To get your total variable cost, you go to that profit maximizing output, which is what? 100. You go straight until you meet your average variable cost, right? After you find your average variable cost, you extend it to this side. So if I asked you, what is the area of the total variable cost, the area of the total variable cost would have been this one, right? Huh? If I ask you, shade the region for the total revenue, the region for the total revenue would have been that portion there. So in here, which one is bigger? So I have total revenue this side, I have total revenue this side, and I have total variable cost. So from there, you can see that the total revenue is bigger than the total variable cost, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So this is the situation with UNZA. So this is the UNZA situation. You find that UNZA is able to pay us the lecturers, but the infrastructure is, what is the situation at UNZA where our salaries are coming in, but one thing is that the infrastructure is not up to standard. Altogether, that's what we mean. UNZA, quite right, is in a loss. It can cover the variable, it can pay the lecturers, but the infrastructure has deteriorated. So this is the situation. But UNZA doesn't necessarily have to shut down, even though it's making a loss. Hey, so one thing that you realize is that, what have I said? I said here a firm. So I said total revenue. A firm will shut down when total revenue is less than the total variable cost. So remember, what am I doing? I can divide this. So what is total revenue? Total revenue is price times quantity. What is total variable cost? It is my average variable cost times the quantity, right? So if I divide both sides by Q there, what will I have? I have the situation where when your price is less than the average variable cost, it means that the firm always has to shut down. So in this case, if you were to establish whether the firm should continue being in business or it should shut down, what was the price? The price here is what? 5.5, right? What is the total? What is the average variable cost? The average variable cost is what? 5.14. So from there, you can see that the price is greater than the average variable cost, which means that as a firm, I don't need to do what? To shut down. Are we together?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Any question?
No, sir.
Okay, perfect. So now, with this in mind, so meaning that I'm done with I'm done with the first section. So I was just saying that a firm in the short run has got two objectives. The first objective is, number one, establish the output that's maximizing profit. Number two, establish whether I should shut down or continue being in business, right? That's the second thing you do. All together, that's what you do. So now, I'm done with the short run. So with this in mind now, in the exam, for example, like if you look at past papers that I was giving people, like I would tell them, draw for me a situation where a perfect competitive market is making a profit. Draw for me a situation where a perfect competition is making a loss and still in business. You get it? So I can tell you to draw things. How many things? The first one I can tell you is, draw for me a perfect competition that's making a what? A profit. If you go to other books, profits are also called supernormal profits. The second instance can be, draw for me a situation where a company is making a loss, but still in business, right? The other instance can be, draw for me a situation where a company is making a loss and should exit the business. The other instance can be, draw for me a situation where a firm is breaking even. What is breaking even? Breaking even simply means that your profits are zero. So you can have these instances. So now, what I'm asking you is, tell me 2 of them which I should draw. Just 2 of them. Choose 2. Class reps. How many class reps are in here?
2 and 3.
Class rep. Class rep. Class rep. Hey, class rep.
I'm here, sir.
Come on.
Around, sir.
Oh.
Next class rep.
Time is moving. Went home.
1-3.
Tomorrow.
What are you trying to say?
Pick 2.
Okay, pretty. Choose both of them. Since the other class rep is not around.
Go back to the screen, sir.
Pretty tilipo.
Okay, 4 and 2. Yes.
But if you look at the slide, I've already drawn this.
Yes. Okay, 4 and 3.
Okay. You can mute the phone. Okay, so now let me start. You've told me making a loss and you should exit. So now, when drawing, I told you in perfect competition, always start from who? The god. Small letter G, the god in here is the market. I'm saying the god because other people can be offended. Wako church, so I said the god, small letter G. The pastors. Yeah, so there is the equilibrium point there, P star. So now the market has established for me that this is the price that everyone is supposed to sell at and buy at. So this is the price I'll get in the market. So now my demand function will be like that. After drawing the demand function, I'll label it and say price is equal to average revenue is equals to marginal revenue is equal to demand function. Are we together? Huh?
Yes.
Okay. The next part of the next bit of it, I'll draw my marginal cost function. I said it is U-shaped like this, right? So here I have 2 points where the marginal cost and the marginal revenue are equal. I have this point and this point. There is point A and point B. As a firm, where am I supposed to produce if I have those 2 points like that?
Point B.
Oh, you watched my videos? Eh?
Videos.
But what's about it? Come back for a Eh? You watched my videos, that's why you've answered that one, okay? Okay, perfect. So a firm has to produce these points at this point, because if you read Ahuja says that for there to be a profit maximizing point, there are 2 conditions that have to be met. The first condition is that marginal revenue has to be equal to the marginal cost. The second condition is that the marginal cost should cut the marginal revenue
Some of us
function.
can't see your screen.
It's your network should be, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
It's a network, bro. That's you're able to say.
Okay, so the first condition is that marginal revenue has to be equal to marginal cost. If I look at this point and that point there, my marginal revenue is equal to my marginal cost. But one thing is for sure, when I look at this point, my marginal cost is cutting my marginal revenue function from above. When I look at that point, my marginal cost is cutting the marginal revenue function from below, right? So the second condition is the fact that the marginal cost has to cut the marginal revenue function from below. So meaning that the profit maximizing point is B there. Yeah. So that was just an explanation I was giving. So now let me draw a marginal cost function that's not intersecting at both sides. So suppose my marginal cost is like that. This is my marginal cost. So as a firm, where do I produce? I'll produce at this point, right? Which is the Q star. So everything that I'll do, I'll be doing per Q star to find my average total cost, to find my margin, to find everything that I'll be dealing with. To find my average total cost, my average variable cost will be per Q star. That's why I'm just extending that line like that, right? So now they're telling me to draw a situation where I'm making a loss. So if I'm making a loss, what does that mean? If I'm making a loss, it simply means that my price, if I compare price and average total cost, which one has to be higher if I'm making a loss?
Average total cost.
Yes, because if you remember, profit is total revenue, which is P times Q star minus average total cost, which is average total cost times Q star. So meaning that I can factorize the Q star. There I'll have price minus average total cost. The moment the average total cost is higher, I'll make a loss. So meaning that here I'm using common sense. My price is here, right? So meaning that if I want to make a loss, what does that mean? It simply means that my average variable cost, if nikayabwirotesha kumwamba huko, if it touches at this point, it simply means I'm breaking even. If it's below this point, below those points, it simply means that I'm making a profit. So meaning that you're using common sense when drawing this thing. So now I can draw my average total cost. What did I say? It is U-shaped. So I'll draw it like that. It will be It's dropping. The moment it touches the margin, it starts going up. So this is my average total cost. So here I've drawn a situation where the firm is making what? A loss. So if I told you, shed for me the loss, remember, here I found that this here, okay, let me shade it. This here is my what? My total revenue. If I want to find my total cost, what do? I come to this profit maximizing point, go up until I find the average total cost. That's when I go the other side there. So my average total cost is there. So if I told you, shade for me the loss that you're making, the loss that you're making is simply this one here, right?
Yes.
So meaning that here I've drawn a situation where the firm is making a loss. So now I want to draw a situation where the firm should exit the market. What did I say? If a firm is to exit the market, what has to be the situation? The situation has to be that price has to be less than the average variable cost, right? So it means that the total revenue has to be less than the average variable cost, right? Huh?
Yes.
So what was going to tell you? Can I draw my average variable cost above that point?
Yes.
Somo gani za wafana?
No.
Why not?
Let me try. Because when the Q, since for us to find the average, wait, you're saying the line mean to say we can't draw above because it has to hit on
So can I draw my average? So what I mean is, can I draw my average variable cost like that? Eh?
No, sir.
Why?
No. So you can, but
Not Arugula. Why?
No, without intersection.
it has to intersect with a margin of the line.
Him. What's your problem? Eh?
Congo Manu.
Sir, it has to intersect with the marginal cost below the price.
My question is that, is it possible to draw the average variable cost above the average total cost?
No, it's not possible because it's average. It has to be below the total cost, not above total cost.
Yes. It has to be below the average total cost, because average total cost is average variable cost plus average fixed cost. So meaning, that's what I mean. So meaning that automatically ukukumwamba average total cost singa burotisha, right? That's when you ask yourself, can the average variable cost be below that portion then? If the average variable cost is below this portion, that will mean that my price is above the average variable cost, which means that I still have to be in business, right? So then it means that when drawing your average variable cost, if you can portion, right? If it's in this portion, that automatically means that, yeah, you have to exit the business, because your average variable cost will be your average total cost, your total variable cost will be more than your total revenue, which means that the average variable cost will be more than your price. So meaning that when drawing, when I'm shutting down, I'll draw my average variable cost the same way. It touches there, it goes up. That is my average variable cost. So meaning that the average variable cost that the firm faces is, I go to my Q star, go reach there. So this is the average variable cost that the firm is facing. So from there, you can see that the price is lower than the average variable cost, which means that the firm should exit. And the price is lower than the average total cost, which means that the firm is making a loss. Are we together?
Yes, we are.
Okay. The last one, which was, you told me that draw a situation where the firm is breaking even. So I'll draw on this same graph. So I'm drawing a situation where the firm is breaking even. So if a firm is breaking even, what does that mean? If a firm is breaking even, it simply means that you're drawing a situation where the profits are what? Are zero. So if the profits are zero, what does that mean? Meaning that I want a situation where at the profit maximizing point, which is Q star, it means that the price has to be equal to the average total cost. So meaning that here logic tells me that if a firm is breaking even, it means that my average total cost has to pass there. Average total cost. At this point, you know that quantity going up, the cost is there. So meaning that my average total cost is equals to my price. So this is how it looks when I am breaking even. So I can draw my average variable cost now below that, which will be it touches there, it goes up. That is average variable cost. So this is a situation where a firm is breaking even there, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. So now where I ended, so I'm ending here. I am ending here. So I'll need like, okay, let me end here. Okay. So I've ended here. So now I'm asking you now, saying that as those that have watched the other video, I'm explaining the same things here and in the other video. Should I continue? Because
Continue.
for me to finish the lecture, I need like three or two more. But probably the one for tomorrow, I'll push it, I'll extend it so that we can be able to, I can finish it within 2. Okay, we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Right, within 2 hours.
No, not 2 hours. I said that I need 2 hours or 3 hours to finish the whole course.
Oh, okay.
If not night, we can do it, sir.
And the whole course or the whole slide?
Yeah, like if I finish the whole slide, that means that I finished the whole course.
You want to finish today, sir?
I don't finish today. You're already confused, Kyra.
No.
Let's finish more.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.